All right, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Do Hard Things podcast. I'm doing a live recording this morning. And hey, I'm Jay Teagues. I'm a leadership trainer, speaker, venture coach, founder of the Do Hard Things Nation. And in this episode, which I usually have my episodes pre-recorded, but I'm actually recording in real time this morning. I want to talk about some reflections post career Army. This is my first day as a civilian in 27 years. And I woke up this morning and I'm drinking my coffee and I'm like, yeah. And I was thinking last night, because usually on Tuesday nights is when I load the podcast, and I've got a few that I've pre-recorded and they're in the hopper ready to go. But I'm like, you know what? This morning I just want to get up and just kind of just reflect on my career over the last 27 years, and what advice would my current self, if I could go back in time and give that 17-year-old some advice, what would that be? Or if someone were joining the military today, what would I want to impart on them? And so, although a lot of these are reflections from service, I think that these things that I'm going to talk about could serve you in any capacity of life. So my list of things that I would like to have known at 17, things I know now that I wish I would have known at 17 when I raised my hand and joined the Army. And so before we get into that, though, real quick, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you're notified of future episodes, and leave us a review on iTunes. If you've ever gotten any value from this podcast, please go over and leave us a review. This episode is sponsored by the Lions Guide. Lions Guide is a growth agency. We feel that leadership solves most problems in your organization, your family, and even yourself. We empower everyday people to become world-class leaders. And our, being the one in charge can be incredibly overwhelming. Without the right support or skills, you might feel like, you're not keeping up with demands. It's difficult to manage the team, whether it be within your organization or even your family. And you may find yourself overwhelmed rather than confident and having peace of mind, but it doesn't have to be that way. We help leaders like you gain confidence, accomplish more, and earn personal freedom. We offer one-on-one coaching, online academy, and organizational workshops. Go to lionsguide.com to learn more. This episode is also brought to you by UARD, the University of Applied Research and Development, where we help veterans obtain their bachelor and master's degree in emergency management. You study abroad in New Zealand for a short tour, minimum 10 days or up to an entire semester, utilizing your VA educational benefits. And this is specifically for veterans. You get maximum credit for your military service and experience, both bachelor and master's degree, non-traditional. And you can learn more by going to uard.university, www.uard.university, or go to dohardthingsnation.com and click on the next mission project. And then finally, go to dohardthingsnation.com. You want yourself an awesome shirt. I'm wearing this great Chafing the Dream shirt. I got my Do Hard Things hat, and rolling out new designs, new apparel each and every day that are all motivational, inspirational, and high quality. My lovely wife, Lacey, makes them, and she gets comments all the time that, I did this yesterday. I put on a race shirt and I couldn't wear it because it was heavier and didn't feel the same. Like, these shirts are incredibly soft. So that's what people love about them. So, all right. So what are some of the things, these, I got a list here. They're in no particular order. And I think that whether you served or not, these things will serve you in life. So one of the things, I sat in my car the other day, just made a list of things I wish I would have known. I wish I would have took more photos. And it's easy now with cell phone technology, right? People are capping or snapping photos all the time. But earlier in my career, we had the little wind-up cameras. And I wish I would have taken more photos. And over my career, I mean, even with the cell phones, I didn't take moments to take more photos, thinking that, I don't know, you just get caught up in the day-to-day grind of things, and maybe it would be silly to pull out your phone at this moment and capture this moment. But looking back, I wish I would have had like more action type photos, or more, I don't know. There's a lot of people that I've served with that have come and gone, and I don't have photos of them. And I wish I would have took a photo with them. So I wish I would have taken more photos. The next thing I wish I would have known, this is more military specific, but take your leave. You earn 30 days a year, and a lot of people want to, I think if you're going to stay in for a longer period of time, whether versus like 3 or 4 years and get out, you want to bank your leave, because one trick that I learned is when you bank your leave and you have like 60 plus days, whenever you put in your leave packet, it's going to get approved because the commander doesn't want to deny that. And you don't want to be on that list of people that hasn't taken leave, right? So I found that by having my leave banked up like that, anytime that I put in leave, it would 9 times out of 10 get approved. But I see a lot of people, they don't take their leave at all, and they don't have a good strategy for it. You know, a rule of thumb that I fell into is I would take a week off once a quarter. It was a nice routine. A lot of times people will take up all their leave like in December when you've got the half-day schedule. And I don't know. I just thought that I think people should take leave more often and more routinely to avoid burnout. Another thing, use your education benefits while you're in. It was very difficult. Obtaining your education while you're in the military is probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. Because I remember definitely earlier on in my career when I was lower enlisted and you had to ask permission to go because you had to have your commander sign off to use your TA to go to college. And you would have to pass that up through your entire chain of command. You'd have to convince your squad leader, your platoon sergeant, your lieutenant, and that would go to the first sergeant, and then it have to be blessed off by the commander. So you had like a whole bunch of people that you had to like convince that, yes, I can go to school. Yes, there isn't a field problem or a deployment coming up, but I can finish this. Because what would happen is if you went to the field and you failed out, well, then you'd have to pay out of pocket for that. And the unit has to give you the time to go. So you'd have to convince them it wasn't going to be a burden. And I found it to be an incredibly difficult way to go to college, but make it a priority and utilize your educational benefits. A lot of people hold on to their benefits thinking you know what, I have this benefit, I'm going to give it to my child or give it to someone else. That benefit is for you to skill up. And eventually you're going to take that uniform off and you're going to have to go do something else. And I just recommend that you use the benefit and fight to convince your chain of command to go to school, because that is a challenge for a lot of service members. All right. Something else. Okay. This is another one that I didn't realize until just recently how important this was, but go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. And earlier in my career, and this is a hard one because this is easier said than done, hindsight being 2020, right? But earlier in my career, if you went to the doctor, you were considered kind of a dirtbag. They would call you a broke dick and treat you accordingly. And over time, though, when you're young, when I was in my 20s, I could just rub dirt in it and be okay. I could do a lot of things. I could go out for a night of drinking, get up and go run 10 miles the next day. Like there's no big deal. But now that I'm in my 40s, like I have a lot of like aches and pains. Every time I bend my knee, it pops, and I have a lot of things going on. And I wish over time, I would have had most of those things annotated, because going through the VA system and getting all that screening to get the medical care, like over time, those little things that happen to you accumulate and they add up. And as you age, I'm learning that I'm starting to feel it. And this is all stuff that, wiser people, more older people, more senior people have been telling me for years. And I just chose to ignore. Now I'm like finally starting to see it. It's like when your parents tell you over and over again about doing something, and then it finally dawns on you, right? When you're finally of age and figure it out. But I wish I would have made more time and more of a priority to go to the doctor. And I think a lot of the mentality of the military has changed over the years from when I first came in. Here's one. When you go on leave, don't visit people that don't visit you. And this is a hard one, but I know a lot of people, they'll save their leave up and they go home for Christmas and they're trying to see everyone back home. They're bouncing from house to house, and they're getting, it's stressful. It's a stressful endeavor to pack up your family, travel, go home for the holidays, and try to see everybody. And you come back, you should feel rested, but you don't. You feel frazzled and stressed out because you've been trying to see everybody. And then you get frustrated because people don't make the effort to come see you. And I look back at my life. I have friends that I grew up with and went to go see, and they never once made the effort to come see me in my entire career. And I lived in some pretty cool places. And it's just a little disappointing. And I know this is a topic that a lot of people in the military and circles talk about. So don't use your leave to go see people that aren't going to make the effort to see you. And that's a tough one to kind of swallow and wrap your head around. But it's your leave, and you need to use that time to decompress and enjoy life. And yeah, if they're not in your close circle, then yeah, don't take the time. All right, this is more of a leadership one. I should go without saying, but take care of your people. Take care of your people. And in the military, like, everything's a priority, and we're always jumping through flaming hoops. And I don't know, it's so easy to get caught up in the day to day. But when my soldiers would want to take leave, or they had a problem or something like that, I would always do my best to take care of them. I remember one time when I was the bullet commander, I had a young lieutenant who was a reservist, and being a reservist, he's there for training. He went to his he went through ROTC, so he went through the ROTC summer camp, and then he ended up in EBOLC. EBOLC's a 19-week course, and this lieutenant was trying to get a job after his time. So a lot of these reservists are really stressing about what's their employment plan, because they don't have employment lined up. And the policy for the organization was you couldn't leave more than, you couldn't miss so many hours of class. And he needed to go basically over for a 4-day weekend to go interview for this dream job that would put him close to his family, and he would actually make a really good living. And it was incredibly important to him. But the organizational policy really dictated that you couldn't let him go. And I went up to bat, and basically I should have probably sent it to a higher commander for approval, but I knew it would get shot down, and I knew we wouldn't be taking care of the soldiers. So I took it upon myself to approve his leave and let him go. And I told him, if you burn me on this one, I'll kill you. But no, this is why I'm going to let you go, because it's important. Like, we need to take care of you. And he went home. He did the job interview, and he came back, and he was so incredibly thankful. He wrote me a handwritten letter, and since then has told me how much he appreciated me for just taking care of him. And I think that is incredibly important. And I think that it's incumbent upon leaders to do the best that you can to take care of your people. And so that was one instance where I put my neck out there to help someone else. And I just think it's so important to take care of people whenever you can. All right, here's another bullet point. So not everything is a priority, despite feeling like it is. I know in the military, everything can seem like a priority, because the bottom line is we have a culture where we're doing way too much, way too many demands, way too many requirements, and everything feels like a priority. And I felt like it was my job as a leader to kind of triage that for my team. I had to basically determine what was the priority and tell the team, like, these are the real priorities. Although everything seems like a priority, I'm going to assume risk on this, and this, and I need you guys to focus on X, Y, and Z, and try to do that as much as possible. And I think there's a lot of leaders and there's a lot of organizations that have this problem, if you will, of everything. It just seems to be like a priority. And I think as if you're in that leadership position, you got to quarterback that a little bit and triage that and let your team know what the real priorities are. Not everything can be a priority. It leads to overwhelm, burnout. You're not doing your best work. And so I would always try to figure out what was obviously what's important to me, what's important 2 levels up. My boss's boss, like, what are the things that are really important to them? And then my boss, what's really important to them? And then what are my priorities? And try as much as I can to line things up, and just assume risk on some things. Like, some things just, like, okay, that might feel like a priority, but it's really, really not. That's more of a nice to have. And you have to triage that and kind of determine that. And teach your team to do the same thing. And You know, I stole this this mantra from another battalion commander I had, but dominate the basics. Do the basics really, really well, and focus on the basic things, and everything else will fall into place. So dominate the basics, and just make not everything can be a priority. Here's one that's not really sexy or anything, but from the military perspective, command supply discipline, right? Making sure that you have all your gear, your equipment is maintained, and you have all of your gear. And I was a real stickler on this. As much as I could, try to make sure that we stayed on top of these things, because in the military, if you're missing equipment or gear, someone in the organization could have to pay for that. And I'm like, there's no reason. We are not so busy. It may feel like we're incredibly busy, but we're not so busy to slow down and make sure that we have everything, because no soldier in my organization is going to pay for anything. And you know, we would make it a priority to do spot checks and make sure that everyone had their equipment. And in my entire career, I mean, I had 2 commands, no flippals. Flippals are financial. Basically, it's like an investigation to see if someone's financially liable. And because of the systems that we in place, and no one had to pay for anything. And in 27 years, I just recently cleared CIF, and I only had I lost some knee pads, and I paid like $100 on 27 years. Where I've known like other people that they lost some pretty significant expensive equipment, and they had, you know, if you're a non-commissioned officer, they can only charge you so much of your pay, but if you're an officer, you're on the hook for the whole thing, and there's millions of dollars of equipment. So there's officers out there that they're paying a lot for losing equipment. So take care of your equipment and maintain it, and you're not so busy to do that. It's incredibly important. That's the stuff that you're going to have to rely on. And this goes in your personal job. That's not just a military thing, but that's in your personal life. Take care of your car. Take care of the things that you rely on. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Stay fit. Stay fit and be prepared for schools and opportunities. If you don't keep yourself fit, then when a school or an opportunity presents itself, and then you're just like scrambling to get the PT test or scrambling to get in shape, you're going to miss out on an opportunity. So to the best of your ability, you want to stay in shape all of the time. You don't want to wait for something and then have to go train for it. Now, obviously there's some demanding schools where you're going to have to do some level of training, but I always tell people that, you know, have a general state of fitness where if a school or an opportunity presented itself, you're physically capable of doing it. And that goes with life too, right? Make yourself harder to kill. You know, if you're fit, you're more resilient to the demands of life. You're going to be healthier. You're going to be more, you're not going to get sick as often. So to maintain a general state of fitness, and from a military perspective, you want to stay fit. So when opportunities present themselves, you can go to schools. Like when I went to Sapper School, we had a very short flash to bang to execute that. If I wasn't already in good shape, I would not have been able to meet the physical demands of that school. I had an opportunity to go to Ranger School, and I was fit enough to, in that short, I could have went and selected. I ultimately had to give the slot to lieutenant last minute, but these schools come up last minute, and you want to be in shape to do that. Stay financially fit. Stay financially fit. So give yourself some padding with your finances. I remember, especially earlier in my career, this is harder when you're not making as much, but you know, if you had a car failure, a car issue, your car broke down, not only did it become like a transportation crisis, it also became a financial crisis. And there's still people that live like that, right? And when I learned to like put money aside, like here's one thing, cars always need maintenance and they're going to break down. So be prepared for that, right? So put that aside. So when it happens, you're not caught off guard. And that really helped. And then when it comes to like moments where you're like in transition from one duty station to the next, having a nice little cushion just helps you. It just takes some of the edge off. And so easier said than done, but you know, try to do the best that you can, especially earlier in your career, to give yourself some cushion. When you get that bonus, you know, for signing up or reenlistment, don't just go blow it on, you know, TVs and cars and everything else. Put that money aside. You're going to need it. And when you get a no pay due or you have an issue in between your PCS, it's not going to completely wipe you out. It's already stressful. And then when you're financially strapped on top of that, it makes it far worse. So, all right, what's the next one? All right, so always be working hard toward your next promotion. And this is something that I saw over time, especially with some really good leaders and non-commissioned officers. They would get so wrapped up in the day-to-day taking care of soldiers, which is, I mean, it's what we do. It's part of the creed. It's what needs to get done. But they would be so involved that they didn't make time for their own education, and they didn't set themselves up for success for that next promotion. And I saw a lot of NCOs that should have been working one or two levels above where they were, and they would have excelled, and they would have made a greater impact had they took care of themselves along the way. And so don't sacrifice your own education. Don't sacrifice schools for your soldiers. And this is hard when you're an engaged leader and you want to be there for everything. But when you're gone, it gives your subordinates the opportunity to step up and fill those roles anyway. And I saw a lot of people that should have been promoted beyond what their current level was, and they did it from a place of service, right? I need to be here for my troops and serve them and be here and lead them, but at their own detriment. And that would be some advice that I give. And I used to give that to the NCOs all the time. Take the tough jobs. When tough jobs present themselves, take them. And what that will do, it will force you to level up. It'll force you to be a better leader. I took a lot of very demanding jobs and jockeyed for them from time to time because I just wanted to see if I could do it. And taking the tough jobs made me a better leader. It made me more resilient. And I don't know, every job that, especially I think later in my career as an officer, and probably because of my enlisted background, I almost had the reputation, because I took the jobs that were tough and I could do it, that led to other tough jobs. Now, this is a double-edged sword, because when you're successful, then more gets dumped on your plate, right? But it made me a better leader. And I don't know, when you go into a role, especially from a leadership perspective, where the team isn't doing so well, one, it feels good to bring your leadership in there and elevate the team and accomplish the mission. But it also, it feels really good. It feels really good to be able to come in there and help solve for those problems and elevate the team. And it's, I never wanted to chase OER bullets. I figured if you do a good job, that your bullets for your ratings would write themselves. But when you put yourselves in those positions, it's a little easier to get, recognition as well, because you got this team over here that's been floundering, and then you come in there and now things are better. Well, obviously, you're probably part of that, and you're going to get recognized for that. So there's multiple facets to taking the tough jobs, but take them on. Here's one, and this goes for the civilian world as well. Candor is a big one. Always tell the truth, and tell the leadership what's up. Like, I would say, don't bullshit the commander. If something isn't going well, tell somebody. A lot of people want to put a lipstick on a pig to make themselves look better than they actually are. I saw this all the time, especially when it came to like maintenance. Like, yeah, our vehicles are good to go. We sit in the maintenance meetings, and like we're 100% on maintenance. It's just a meeting where you're kind of like reviewing all of your equipment and the status of your equipment. Yeah, we're good to go. Everything is good. Blah blah blah. And then we do like a convoy rollout, and like half the platoon is like the equipment is broken in deadline, and because they wanted to avoid looking bad, they would just fluff their numbers to bullshit the commander. And I just thought that was a disservice. Like, your boss needs to know what's going on, and you can do it in a way where it's like, hey, this is the problem, but this is what we're doing to solve for that, and have a plan and ask for guidance. But there will always be a lot of people, a lot of my fellow peer leaders that would try to brush over things. And I just thought that was such a disservice. And I felt that by always telling the truth, it's incumbent upon us as the subordinate to tell the boss what's going on, and it enables them to make better decisions. But if you put lipstick on a pig and try to cover things, then they can't make the best decisions. And when it's actually time to execute, it it stands out. Like you've been saying that all of your stuff is good, but it's time to execute, and now you can't perform. What the hell? So it puts doubt in the commander. Excuse me. All right. Take care of yourself and your family. There's a lot of people out there that you can get so caught up in your day-to-day job and routine, and this transcends the military. This goes into day-to-day life in the civilian world. You can become a workaholic and dedicate too much of your life to your job. We were meant to do more than work and pay bills. Like we have to have a life. Excuse me a second. I'm about to choke here. Excuse me. Take care of yourself and your family, especially as a high performance coach and working in the space with high performing people. There's a lot of people that are really dedicated to their career and their job. I'm choking to death here. Apologize. But you got to take care of yourself, because your health and your energy enables you. This is the vessel that you have to get more work done, to be productive. And if you sacrifice your own health over time, you're not going to be as productive. You're not going to be able to think as clearly. You're not going to be able to make as good of decisions. And then your family, right? Your family is always going, like when you take the uniform off, or you take the at the end of the day when you're not working, your family's going to be there. And so you got to make time to take care of yourself and take care of your family, and that ultimately leads to long-term fulfillment. Man, I'm just really sorry. I'm really choking up here. All right, so don't stay in too long or one spot for too long. You can become stagnant. Now, I have some firsthand experience with this, and when I after my deployment in 2003, I was selected to be a recruiter, and I was fast tracking in the non-commissioned officer ranks, and I got selected for recruiting duty, and that's normally a 3-year obligation and tour. And what ultimately happened was I stayed out there for 6 years, and during that time, because I was out there for so long, my MOS as a combat engineer had changed drastically due to the demands of what was required in Afghanistan and Iraq. How we used to operate as a combat engineer had changed significantly because of the improvised explosive devices. So a lot of our equipment had changed, a lot of our procedures had changed. And when I was leaving that job as a recruiter, I had been promoted from staff sergeant to sergeant first class, and my scope of responsibility going back into the force would have been significant. As a squad leader, you're typically in charge of like 10 to 12. As a platoon sergeant, it's like 30 to 40. And going back into, that role at that time, like I knew that I had been away too long, that probably would have been an issue, which is why I ultimately decided to go the officer candidate route. That was a really good plan for me at that point in my career. But the bottom line was I was out in recruiting for 6 years. And that was due to my wife and I, we had the triplets, and then I had put my OCS packet in. I broke my knee. So it just got drug out. And so these things happen to people, but it kind of put me behind the power curve in regards to my career. I came in ahead of the power curve, but I was like leaving behind it. That's why I chose to go the officer route. That was one of the big decisions that I had to make. And it worked out well. Yeah, don't stay in a spot too long, because you need to have that opportunity for growth. All right, so here's one for those in the military. Your current duty station. There's always complaints. It's always we always downplay where we're currently at. And some advice that I had gotten is bloom where you're planted. Bloom where you're planted. So no matter where you are, make the best of it. Make civilian friends. Get out into the community and really embrace it. There's good and bad at every duty location, and it's very easy to get caught up in the negativity and the of your current assignment. And so don't crap on the town or post that you're currently assigned. Make the best of it, because every place that you go has both good and bad. I mean, I found that in Hawaii, right? Hawaii is like a dream destination for a lot of people. But when I got there were some things I didn't really like about it. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't like about it. It was good for about the first year. And then after that, I'm like, I'm ready to get off this island. And so it's I don't know, there's good and bad at every duty station. Let's see here. Two more, and then we're done. So celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins. This is something that I wish I would have done more. And it's very easy to downplay your accomplishments. And I remember I would go from school, I would graduate of school and be like, hey, Sergeant Teagues, you're back. Great job at Air Assault. Now you got this. And it's like, there's no really opportunity to really like celebrate or get excited about anything. I remember when I graduated, I went to the Captain's Career Course and I earned a master's degree in geological engineering. It was like, okay, we call that the Rocks for Jocks program. We downplay it. You know, Missouri S&T is like a fantastic engineering school. And because it wasn't the civil engineering program or it wasn't an Ivy League program, good job. You did the Rocks for Jocks program. Like, what's next? And it was like, looking back, when I tell other people that I have that, they're like, wow, that's fascinating. Tell me more about it. And that's a really cool. I didn't even walk the stage for that particular, I didn't participate in the ceremony for that degree plan because we just downplayed it so much. And I think it's important that we celebrate our wins. And I'm trying to be better about doing that more in my life, but it's something that I wish that we would have done along the way a little bit better, is celebrate our wins. And I think it's very easy in the military to get caught up and not celebrate wins. And I talk to a lot of people that are civilians as well that do something worthwhile. And we don't take a moment to celebrate or just acknowledge the fact that we accomplished that. And I think it's incredibly important. It leads to fulfillment. It gives you that sense of accomplishment. It gives you more confidence, and it just makes you proud of where you're at and enables you to go on to the next thing. All right. And then finally, my final bullet point, there's so many, I could probably go on all day about these things, but I don't, we're going to wrap this up. So the final one I wrote is tell your mom you love her. And I wish, one of my greatest regrets was not making more time to go see my mother and pick up the phone and call her more and tell her that I loved her. And when she passed, she was hospitalized and I was able to go see her, but she was pretty well incapacitated. And I know that she saw me in the hospital room as she's laying there because her facial expressions, she lit up for a moment and she knew that myself and my brother were there, but she couldn't talk after that. And then she was pretty well incapacitated until she passed. And I just wish that I would have spent more time with my loved ones and making time to go see her. And I can't change the hands of time to go back and do that. So call your mom more, call the people that you love more, tell them that you love them. And that's one that I really have a lot of deep regret that I wish I would have made a better effort. I could have done better. So those are just some talking points of reflections, things that I wish I would have known, things I know now that I wish I would have known earlier in my career. And there's a lot more, but those are just a quick list of things that I wish I would have done. And I would encourage anyone to serve in the military if they're the right fit for it. It's not for everybody, but it was a great opportunity for me personally. Especially, I grew up in a broken home, and it gave me an opportunity to better myself, to get away from that situation, and be around, some of the greatest Americans, some of the most selfless people I have ever served with, and inspire the hell out of me were in the military. Now, there's also a lot of jerks and people that didn't inspire me, but the vast majority of people are really good people, and they're the best of our country. And it was a tremendous opportunity to serve with people from all walks of life that's the really unique thing about the military, is you get exposed to a little bit of everyone from all walks of life within our country in one location. And it's really unique. And it was a very difficult lifestyle, but very rewarding in that. And I owe who I am as a person to my experiences. And I would just encourage anyone thinking about it to give it a shot. Go for it. And it's not for everybody, but yeah, it's a great opportunity. So that's pretty much it. My unscripted ramblings for the morning. my thoughts, my first cup of coffee as a civilian, and I thought that I would share that. And the way ahead. So the way ahead for me, a lot of people are like, hey, you're going to get a job? Not well. I'm not going to. For the last 27 years of service, I feel that you have to give up a lot to serve. A lot of your freedoms you have to give up to serve. And I am not going to compromise my freedom or my sovereignty. That's the beautiful thing about this country, is that you have an opportunity to pursue whatever it is that, for the most part, whatever you want. It's going to require some effort and work. And but I'm not going to put myself in a position where I have to ask permission to do anything, or mitigate that as much as possible, because that was one of my biggest challenges I had in the military. I just want to be free. And so being free, being sovereign, I will do whatever it takes to maintain that. So the way ahead for me is, I'm a high performance development director for the Lions Guide as a leadership trainer, adjunct professor for UARD, and I'm going to teach and train, and we're going to continue to serve people. I'm going to use my talents and abilities of what I've learned in the military, and continue to help others. And so that's the way ahead. We're going to continue to expand the Do Hard Things Nation, and just empower everyday people to become world-class leaders. That's the mission. That's the mission. And from my perspective, my vantage point, like, that's the market is wide open. There's so many people out there that can be served by that. And I'm honored to be around a team of people committed to that. And I'm excited about what's next. And I think that I kind of went back to that bullet point. Don't stay around one place too long. As I reflect back, I stayed in the military probably just a little bit too long because of my own fear. I didn't know what was next for me. I didn't have clarity on who I was beyond the uniform. And I've been doing that work the last couple of years to really figure out who I am and what my next mission is. And I think I needed that. So, my coach recently helped me frame that out. Like, sometimes we have to walk a difficult path so we can help others. And I feel like I had to walk that difficult path and learn myself so I can help others navigate that, and help other people with their transition, whether that be from the military or other like transition points in life. And, it's a necessary path I had to walk so I could be a better teacher and leader to them, to help them. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about the future. And that's it. That's all I got this morning. I'm going to finish my cup of coffee and get on with my day. So I appreciate you if you've listened up to this point. Thank you so much for listening. Please let me know what you think. Did I miss something? What did I miss? And yeah, I just like I said, pretty unscripted this morning. Just kind of talking off the top of my head with my coffee. And if you've listened thus far, I appreciate you. And I guess we'll just wrap it up from here. So in the meantime, keep doing hard things, and we'll see you guys